Have we seen the very best of Michelle Wie? Will she ever get back and achieve the potential that everybody believed she possessed? Let's tee it up.
Welcome to Data Access Golf, your home for rapid golf improvement. And now, from the thin air of the Rocky Mountains, next on the number one tee, your host, Aaron Stewart.
Hey everyone, Aaron Stewart, Data Access Golf. Thanks for joining me today on the podcast. I appreciate it very much. As many of you know, Michelle Wie has decided to take the rest of the year off, which obviously makes a lot of sense with her injuries. And she has been injury plagued for sure. And the wrist injuries and everything else are not new, but it leads one, and some of her comments recently make you kind of wonder if she's ever coming back. I'm a huge fan of Michelle Wie, honestly. She, a number of years ago, she was working for some charity, and I don't really remember what it was, but I saw in her Twitter feed that she was auctioning off a bunch of stuff for this charity. And my daughter was just getting into golf at the time. And so I thought, hey, this would be pretty cool. And so I went and looked and bid on some tickets to one of the LPGA tournaments there in Palm Springs. And that was the easiest one for us to kind of get to from here in Utah. So I went ahead and donated or bid or whatever it was, and actually won the tickets. And then received, some information on it and stuff like that. Well, I went on to Twitter, onto her Twitter feed there, and I just hit her a quick little message and said, hey, thanks, just got the tickets to the thing, to your charitable thing. Seems really cool. Look forward to seeing you or whatever. And part of it was, get to meet her and something or other, and then tickets to the tournament. So I just kind of set that off really quickly. Wasn't really expecting a whole lot, but she got back to me, and we actually had a nice little Twitter conversation, and she just turned out to be a really genuine, kind person. Was really excited about the charity, what she was working on, and getting all that done, and that turned out to be a really cool thing for us. So she's always been, a very popular person in our home, especially with golf, and always have wanted to see her do well, right? So under that guise, I've been always somewhat curious to the fact that she had so much promise when she was young, and then what's happened to it. I mean, we really got to know Michelle Wie back in 2003. She was 13 years old and was already quite famous, frankly. She was the youngest player to qualify for a USGA Adult Championship at the age of 10 back in 2000. I mean, so she had already been 3 years of kind of shaking things up in 2003 when we started to really hear about her. She was the youngest winner of a United States event, of a USGA event in its 108-year history, when she won the U.S. Amateur Public Links, which is amazing, right? She played into the final group at the Nabisco Championship in 2003. At the age of 13. So, I mean, in contention for a major on the LPGA Tour. She was the youngest player to ever make the cut at an LPGA Tour event. And back at here, and I was looking in for a few articles and stuff as I was looking into this. They said that she, at age 13, was hitting her driver on average 280 yards. And that if she really jumped on one, she could put it out there 320. At age 13, and this is in Hawaii at sea level. So it's just astounding what her talent level was. And they talked about how wonderful her swing was. I mean, if you read through it, it's really quite you just can't believe that she hasn't been more successful than this. And it's been, as somebody who now is very interested in the golf swing and trying to get back to your natural movement and all that, and then she obviously had tapped into what her natural movement was and was moving it really, really well. And at that time, I think from the age of 12 to 14, she was coached by Gary Gilchrist, who's a South African who's had the Jacana Guards, and Lydia Ko, Paula Creamer have all been in his stable at one time or another, and I don't know who's there now. I think I saw that, I think that there's been a few that have left recently. Shen Chen Feng, I think, is also one of his, right? But anyway, he was coaching Michelle Wie at this particular time, and she had a really natural, wonderful swing. And I think that he actually worked for Ledbetter at the time, right? So anyway, so technically she was in Ledbetter's school, but her direct coach was Gilchrist. And some of the other things that as I was looking around, kind of kicking around, I'm trying to figure out where her mind is, trying to figure out, is she disappointed or is she okay with everything? She's engaged, obviously, to somebody who's probably pretty well off. She herself is pretty well off. So what's left? And I think we asked some of the same questions for Tiger Woods when it looked like his health was going to prevent him. Why would he come back? He's got 14 majors. He seems, to be really happy as a dad, and things have calmed down. Why would you come back and try to do something? Well, he has obviously a bit of a drive, and he had a goal back then to beat Jack's record, and that goal obviously is still in place. But so what are Michelle Wie's goals? What is she trying to accomplish? Anyway, so I just kind of dug in and started reading a bunch of stuff out of curiosity, but also because I like her as a player, and she was very nice to me and our family, and I don't know, just curiosity, really. And I found some really cool stuff. I love this little quote of hers she had here. She said this, quote, "I guess if you grow up normal, you will always be normal. And I don't want to be normal. I want to be something else." That's not necessarily a goal. It just says that she doesn't want to be normal. And I think that you can check the box there. If that's a goal for her, if that's what she wanted out of her life, then bang, she killed that one. She's definitely not normal. Whatever normal is, that's not Michelle Wie. And then there's some cool quotes from some other really amazing players at that time about her. And again, this is 2003. You've got Annika Sorenstam, who literally said that she thought that she could be the Tiger Woods of the LPGA Tour. And Annika Sorenstam at that time was the Tiger Woods of the LPGA Tour. But she thought that Michelle Wie could do it, had seen her play. And she said that she couldn't even relate to the way that she hit this golf ball. Christina Kim, who at the time was also doing quite well and actually has become a good friend of Michelle Wie over the years, said that her, quote, her ball striking is unfathomable, which is cool. That's a cool statement. Then there's this one from Christy Kerr, which I thought was pretty interesting. And Christy Kerr may be nailing this one on the head, perhaps. But she said the following, quote, "I'm in awe of someone like Michelle Wie because of how good she is at a young age. But I feel a little sad for her in many ways. I just hope that she's not doing what she's doing right now because I just hope that she's doing what she's doing right now because she wants to. I hope she doesn't get to a time in her life like tennis star Jennifer Capriati, who famously had a bunch of early success and then kind of just self-destructed. And then Kerr went on to say, when she doesn't want to do it anymore, because that would be a shame. So is it a situation where Michelle Wie just doesn't want to do it anymore, where there's other things that are more interesting to her? I can definitely speak as one who has suffered through a wrist injury that basically took golf away for 18 months or so, and now dealing with an Achilles injury, that playing golf hurt is not worth it. It's no fun. As much as I love golf, as much as I love being on the golf course, as much as I love putting and all of that, practicing all of it, doing it hurts, and it's just not worth it. That takes the fun right out of golf. So that makes sense to me. She's had a lot of injuries, struggled at the Open, at the U.S. Open, shot in 84. She said she was in pain. That's no fun. I can see giving up the game if you just hurt too much. A lot of people have had to. One of those who's pretty famous is this Fred Couples, who said of Wie when she was age 13, when you see her hit a golf ball, there's nothing that prepares you for it. It's just the scariest thing you've ever seen. So that's quite nice coming from Boom Boom Couples, that she had that she could move it, that she could hit it really hard. And we're talking 280-yard drives and 320 yards if she needs to at age 13. Crazy. Her coach at the time, Gilchrist, said the following: "You could say shock and awe. It was just so natural and easy. It reminded me of the way Ernie Els played when I grew up with him. The ease and the grace. People like that, they're not trying to be good. They just are." So, again, probably discussing to the natural ability of Michelle Wie. I think that there's no question early in her career when she was very young. And this is the cool thing about playing golf when you're young, is you get to develop and feel what's natural to you. And you don't get in your own way and start going with swing thoughts and a bunch of different stuff. So she was a very natural player, and that natural motion could move it. Way back in 2003 with 2003 technology, she's 13 years old, and she's playing in Hawaii. But that's what she's averaging. Here's another quote from Davis Love III. "I just played with a girl who has the best swing I've ever seen." Again, at age 13. So amazing. Tom Lehman was so impressed that he nicknamed her, sometimes we hear this, the Big Wheezy. Definitely playing off Ernie Els' nickname as the Big Easy, which has always been one of the coolest nicknames in golf, for sure. And then a quote from Michelle Wie here that might give us some insight into her mental state, especially this is at 13. Michelle said that she wanted to go to Stanford at 13. She did go to Stanford. She graduated from Stanford in communications. So that was definitely a goal of hers. That was on the horizon, and she got that done. And then she says the following: "and turned pro, quote, when I'm ready." Is that telling us anything? Perhaps. And then she said a little bit later in that same quote, I totally prefer playing to practicing. I think a lot of us probably feel that way. I think most golfers feel that way. I actually prefer to, I don't know. Sometimes I prefer to practice. Sometimes I prefer to play. It just kind of depends if you're working on something or if you just want to take it to the golf course and get it all out there. But then she went on to say this. So she goes, I totally prefer playing to practicing, and then giggled and said, I prefer watching TV to practicing. Okay, so she was very, very good, but didn't like practicing back then at age 13. You think that's changed? I don't know. I don't know. All right, then moving on. It says here, I thought this was cool. I kind of pulled this out to look at. After this whole interview that they've been doing in 2003, she went out to play with the LPGA players. And on the number one tee, she hits a 4-wood, 250 yards, blowing by all her playing companions who have hit driver, and walks off just like, there you go. So she could move it. She had a very natural swing, a very fluid swing. They say her tempo was wonderful. We've got Davis Love and Freddie Couples saying it's the best golf swing they've ever seen, or you can't prepare to hear, how she hits the ball, that it's scary. You've got Annika Sorenstam and Christina Kim at the time saying she's amazing. She's set all these kinds of records. She is inarguably the most talented woman golfer ever to come along at age 13. And now she's taken the rest of the year off, and we don't know if we're going to see her again. So what happened? I start to wonder as you read through some of her comments there, if she really had this this dream of being a big, wonderful LPGA star. She never talks about having some kind of a goal, something set up in a room like Tiger Woods did to beat Jack Nicklaus's major. There's nothing here anywhere that you can find on the internet that talks about that. She talks about turning pro when she feels like she's ready. She also talks about her big goal being to play at the Masters. And to do that, she would have to win an amateur tournament. And so she seemed to be pretty interested in trying to win amateur tournaments. Trying to get in and playing in boys' amateur tournaments, trying to get in and play the Masters. That was a dream of hers. She did try to accomplish that. It was a dream to go to Stanford. She did accomplish that. I don't know if... Yeah, I don't know. So in 2006, it says this about her financial situation. So 2006, that makes her 17. It says here that by the end of 2006, we had already earned around $20 million in her rookie professional season. Okay, including endorsements, but still $20 million bucks. Then she hauls off and signs some deal with, we know for sure it was Nike, and then she signed some other deal with, I don't know, it was a watch deal or Rolex or something. So they said that she was making $10 million a year in endorsements at some point. It says here, though, that she earned $20 million her first year in professional golf. So maybe she had some other endorsements or whatever. So she's got 20 there. We know she's making at least 10, and she had some good years. And then she started to have some problems. So now does she have so much money and she doesn't like to practice that she just stops kind of doing it? Perhaps. In 2008, Gary Gilchrist, who was her previous coach, said that her tempo and rhythm seemed way off to him. And that she was trying to go after distance. Like she wanted more distance, and that doesn't make any sense when you talk about her knocking a driver out there 280 yards at sea level at 13. Why would you need any more distance than that? And yet there she was, chasing distance. Or at least that's what her old coach said she was doing. And this whole concept or idea of chasing distance and doing something unnaturally, then we start seeing her first injuries there in 2008. She starts having wrist problems. And here we are 11 years later, still dealing with wrist problems. She came back from those wrist issues too early and tried to play and ended up injuring herself again. So again, there's those injuries, and wrists are the worst, in my opinion. I can play this Achilles, this sort of blown up Achilles. It hurts to play off and push off it, but nothing hurts like a wrist. Playing golf at impact, a messed up wrist is just the worst. So I definitely think injury has something to do with it. In 2009, we had her first victory as a professional golfer. 2009, the Lorena Ochoa Open, who overachieved, I think we can all say. Lorena did, and then left so quickly, which is amazing. In 2014, Michelle Wie got her fourth win, and that was her first major, her only major. The 2014 U.S. Women's Open, which was a really cool thing to watch, but her swing seemed so unnatural. I don't know if you remember, it was this short little punchy something or other. I think she was doing that tabletop weird putting stuff. She just kind of did some weird stuff. And this Gary Gilchrist was talking about how she was running around looking for different little things, that she'd gone after power and lost her natural tempo. And so now ball striking was all that was important to her. And when the ball striking went south, she would just completely lose it because she didn't have the ability to self-coach, which is a whole nother really good lesson here. Not having the ability to self-coach can be unbelievably frustrating. And I obviously think that she was very frustrated. And then from 2014, kind of back and forth, sort of quiet. She didn't win again until 2018, the HSBC Women's World Golf Championship. And that's kind of her career. Now she's been injured. She tried to come back, got injured again. She's now engaged. Don't know what's going to happen with her. I really don't. But injuries suck. I can see injuries taking somebody out for good. I get it. Having enough money and not really enjoying practice, well, I can see how that would affect you. Like, why should I go out and practice? I don't enjoy it anyway, and frankly, I'm comfortable. I get that sort of being part of it. She's always one that seems to enjoy her personal time. She likes to have fun. And if practicing golf isn't fun, and she's not playing well at golf, she's not doing well on the golf course, then that's not very fun. There's a lot of other things she could do that would be more fun if you're unprepared playing golf. Nobody enjoys that. Right? Tired of a whole lot of things. The one thing I found one thing pretty disturbing. If you look up her net worth, it says that she's worth $12 million now. And I don't know what kind of financial person she has, but if she had $20 million at age 17, and she is now 29, 12 years later, and she was making $10 million a year in endorsements at least, how is she only worth $12 million bucks? Where the heck did all the money go? Parents living high on the hog, agents, just living, right? I mean, that's got to be, you would think it'd be closer to 70, 80, 90, 100 million, and then throw in interest over the course of those 10 years. How's it 12? That doesn't make any sense. Some really bad money management going on if that is the case, for sure. Really weird. So I guess the question is just sort of open-ended. We won't really know what happens and if she comes back. It's definitely a situation where the talent level was there. She was tapped into her natural ability, started chasing some swing thoughts and techniques and strategies. And we've talked about that a million times, how doing that is horrible for your game. You've got to stick to what you naturally do if you really want to be good long-term, consistently. You start chasing tips and tricks and all this stuff, and you are going to be lost so quickly. And you will build so many bad habits that when you finally decide to take some piece of technology or something and fix your golf swing, you're going to have a lot of freaking work to do. I did. When I finally found a piece of technology, the swing bite, that started giving me all the information I needed to get my swing back on plane, it was a disaster. It was terrifying how awful my golf swing had become because I was chasing a bunch of fake feels and techniques and Golf Digest articles of a bunch of things that you shouldn't do that just were inaccurate and not compatible with the way my body moves. And so I definitely worry with all these injuries and everything with Michelle Wie, that if she doesn't tap into her natural swing, that 13-year-old girl swing, and get back to that, then I don't see her playing good golf or playing golf for a long time or staying uninjured. I mean, she will get injured again. If you're not playing with your natural stuff, you will get injured. We're not made to move every which way without getting injured. So it's interesting. It's interesting. It's definitely something that I feel for her. I don't know necessarily, again, that exchange and stuff, but it just seems like sort of a lot of talent left on the table that she may never really realize. But it could very well be that she doesn't really care. And if she doesn't really care, then good on her. Just think she wants to be happy, then that's great. Being happy is by far more important than anything else, which is exactly why I would never allow my kids to choose pursuing a professional career in any sport. I think I would talk them out of it. It just doesn't seem the way to go, in my mind, to find long-term real joy and happiness in life. And I think you see situations like this and realize that, you're probably right. Michelle's finding happiness, and it's not because of golf. Maybe it was a vehicle to give her some financial security, but the happiness in her life definitely seems to come from someplace else. And I think that's just totally fine. But if she doesn't ever come back and doesn't ever kind of live up to the potential that she obviously showed when she was 13, then that will be too bad. Unless she's happy or not doing any of that, then we should be very satisfied and happy with her and what she's done for golf. So kind of a weird show, obviously, not one that we typically do, going on and doing a biography, but excited for the 3M tournament coming up. Obviously, a new one in the Twin Cities area, and it looks like it's going to be pretty exciting. We've got a lot of good folks showing up to play. Brooks Koepka, number one in the world, and number 2 in the FedEx Cup, is up and in there ready to go. I thought some of the groups were pretty interesting. Well, I really thought it's amazing that Nate Lashley is in one of the featured groups. I think that's just super cool. He wins last week, and now he's in one of these, 4 super groups, these 4 groups that'll play tomorrow. How cool for him. How very exciting. And that just kind of goes to show you that we are very interested in this kid. We do see that the struggle that he went through and how he overcame is amazing. So much so that he is now in one of the featured groups, which is super, super cool. Anyway, looking forward to that tournament tomorrow. Looking forward to the 4th. Enjoy the holiday long weekend. Enjoy it very much. Until next time, this is Aaron Stewart saying better data always means better golf. And thank you for geeking out on golf with me today and geeking out on Michelle Wie today. Till next time, see ya.
Thanks for listening to Data Access Golf with Aaron Stewart. Check us out online at dataaccessgolf.com, and we'll see you on the next episode.